Hey, welcome back to Have Wood Will Turn. Today we are demolding the river table. Okay, so before we get going, we want to make sure that the river table is actually hard enough to work with. So we have this Shore durometer, and it's basically to show the hardness of the material. We want to make sure that this is just as above 70, 75 in order to proceed. So
the video doesn't show it, but we found that it was 76. So it's ready to go.
So one of the things that we used, we wanted to use something to clamp this down, and because this ledge is a little bit high, we actually had these molds that we've used for other projects. And so we used these on the edges just to hold the wood down, to keep it from floating. So we've already knocked one of them off. Let's get after it, knock these others off. You can see they come off pretty good.
So we're gonna knock off the rest of the molds, and then we're gonna knock off the sides.
All right, folks, here's the bottom side.
Okay.
That is going to be awesome. So cool.
Okay, now we need to take them over to the planer sander. We have a 54-inch planer sander. So these two are headed over for planing and sanding. All right, now we're gonna send it through the planer sander. The cool thing about this machine is it actually planes and sands at the same time. You can turn the planer on, or you can turn the sander on. You can do them both together. For right now, we're gonna send it through. You saw us there measuring, because we wanna make sure that the high point is the first part that gets cut off, or else if you measure the low point and put it through, it might be too aggressive on the planer. So what we're doing is we're putting it through here, and there's a lot of passes that we actually ended up going through. So you'll notice as the wood moves through there, you can see some of the white parts. That's basically where it's planing off the resin that's been on the wood. And once we get close to where it's flattening out the whole thing, we'll turn on the sander and it'll sand it, and it'll actually make the job a lot easier to sand by hand using our palm sanders. But right now we're going to just move it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until the whole thing is completely flat and ready to go. Okay, we're getting pretty close here. You can see there's still a few high spots, but we're getting real close now that we're actually looking at each individual defect and making sure that all of the cracks and crevices are flush with the resin. Okay, top side's done. Now let's flip it over to the back side just to clean it up in preparation for the final sanding. And check it out, we made our own confetti for the party table. Yay! Okay, as this is coming out, we're looking over the wood to make sure that it's good enough that we can take it back and just do our final sanding with palm sander. So, but it's looking pretty good. I really like how it's turning out. I love that ambrosia maple, how it's got the great contrast with that river in the middle. Just looking through a lot of those knots to make sure that the resin took. I think it's looking pretty good. What do you guys think? Now that we've got the sanding out of the way, it's time to square the table. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a fresh side, fresh end, and then once we get that fresh end, we'll use that to basically get a 90-degree angle on one side, and then we'll go parallel to that side, and that's how we'll do it. So here we go. Okay, so I've routed the edge with the 45 degree, which is what the customer requested. Now it's time to sand. I've marked the project with several pencil markings to show tough areas that need special attention with the sander. We're going to go from 60 grit, 80 grit, 120, 180, 220, and 320. Okay, time to get the finish on the bottom. The finish that we're going to be using for this is going to be Halcon Total Boat Clear Varnish. And the reason why is because this is going to be an outdoor table, and so we want to make sure that it's weather and UV resistant, and this is fantastic for that. Also, the one thing is this is super durable, and it allows the flexibility for wood to expand with the sun and, you know, with being outside. And it's going to prevent any yellowing or cracking or any of that. So that's the reason why we went with Halcon Total Boat. Okay, so you can see us here putting on the first coat on the bottom. We ended up putting 2 coats on the bottom and 6 coats on top, and we'll show you the coat on top. But we wanted to focus on the top mainly, but you still need to coat the bottom. We don't have to put as much on the bottom, but whatever you do to the top, you got to do the bottom, because if you don't, the wood won't move consistently together. So the top will move more than the bottom. Once we get the bottom varnished, we'll flip it over and focus on the top. We hadn't finished sanding the top because we knew we were going to have to flip it over and varnish the bottom. So we're going to finish the bottom, do finish sand on the top, and then start varnishing the top. Normally we only have one person sanding, but you'll see we have 2 of us sanding. We found that we could knock these out really quick if we just both went over it. And if I missed something, Jonathan could grab it. If Jonathan missed it, I could grab it. So it worked out really well for us. Now we're going over the edge with a flat sander, basically just a sanding block, to hit it with the 320 on the edge. We want to make sure that we keep that edge that was routed off as sharp as can be, with still having a nice sanded finish. We're cleaning it off and getting it ready for the varnish. For most woodworkers, this is the favorite part. This is where you actually put the finish on the most beautiful part of the wood, but we couldn't figure out where to put it because this whole entire piece is just gorgeous. You'll find that when you put oil, varnish, lacquer, anything on the wood, it generally pops. Some of it, especially with oil, this is not an oil, this is a varnish. It doesn't pop as quick with oil. But you can see here that is really bringing out the grain. You can see that the resin is matching very closely with what the customer wanted. At least that's what we can see. And I think it looks really good. Tell me what you think in the comments. We're gonna go ahead and finish this, and then we got to throw the legs on and then the lights on. So let's speed this up a little bit. Not very slow, slow-mo. Just kidding. Let's speed things up. A little plug for next week's video. I'm going to do a more detailed explanation on how to do sanding and how to do live edge sanding. So that's something to look forward to. If you are looking forward to that, put something in the comments. So I hope you see, as we're building this up, how much gloss is starting to pop out, how it's going to be an excellent protector to this wood and to this resin, especially being out in the sun. It's going to be protected from UV. And it looks good. A couple days later, and six coats of varnish on the top of that table. Now it's time to brand it. This is really cool. We used to do this with a laser engraver, but some of these tables are a little bit too big for that. Not an exact science. This just got to make sure that the iron's hot enough. You put it against the wood and that it will burn. So usually it's better to test a piece before you go on your project.
Hey, tell me about your drill bit there. That's a pretty fancy drill bit you got there.
Yeah, this is a fancy drill bit. It centers the hole automatically. You push down and it comes out. Comes peeking out.
That's nice. What are we using here? Cabinet screws? What are you thinking?
Yeah, we like to use cabinet screws if at all possible.
Are they stronger, you think? Think they're stronger?
They have a nice hold, and they have a nice kind of built-in flange washer. Really get a good grip. And also they're kind of tamper-proof because they have a star tip. So, you know, the kids can't just grab any old Phillips and unloosen these suckers. Solid like a rock.
That's pretty solid. All right. This is what we're going with. Okay. LED strip. All right, so you see there? They have these different LEDs, and then they also have things that we can actually attach onto them and then screw it to the wood. So we've got this nifty little remote control. So hopefully this is gonna work out real well. Here we go. All right, let's turn out the lights. There we go. Should be pretty cool.
That's a party. That's a party table now.
That's the party table for sure.
That's a sick party table right there, bro.
Pretty cool. We've installed the lights, and now it's time to get a few pictures. As we're waiting for delivery, I just want to take a quick moment to show you the final product, and then to actually go in the woodshed and show you what we use. So those are the boards that we pull out and we do all the work on, pour the river table or make the table, and voila, that leads to that right there. Now let's deliver it and see what it looks like in the natural habitat.
In the immortal words of Forrest Gump, that's all I got to say about that. Just to recap, this is the third video of 3, and the first one we made the mold, the second one we prepped the wood and then poured the resin, and the third one we sanded and finished the table and delivered it. If you like what you saw, please like, subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments, and follow our channels. Also, you can check us out on Instagram, Have Wood Will Turn, and hope to connect with you here and there. Have a great week.